The little hatchling sat alone on a soft patch of glowing moss, its tiny wings trembling as it looked around. The forest was full of light. The trees had leaves that shined like lanterns, and small crystal streams ran like silver threads between them. Yet, despite all this beauty, the hatchling felt empty inside. No one wanted to play with it. It tried. It flapped its tiny wings to make a little wind, hoping the floating fireflies would follow. But the fireflies twirled away, leaving the hatchling with nothing but the quiet hum of the forest. It crawled to a nearby crystal lake, its reflection shimmering on the water's surface. It nudged a smooth pebble with its nose and hoped another creature might notice. But nothing moved. Only the soft ripples of water greeted it. The hatchling let out a small, sad chirp. It had seen older dragons and bigger creatures playing together, chasing light or spinning in the sky, but they never wanted to play with a tiny hatchling like him. He flapped harder, trying to jump onto a low branch, but he fell with a soft thump onto the moss. No one came to help or cheer. The forest seemed too big, too bright, and yet too lonely. He wandered a little further, hoping maybe, just maybe, someone else was looking for a friend too. The trees here were taller and the crystal streams ran faster. Tiny fish with glowing fins leapt from the water, but when the hatchling tried to splash along, they darted away, leaving him alone again. He huffed, shaking his head, feeling the first pinch of real sadness. He curled his small body on a patch of moss, wings folded close. The forest whispered around him, the soft hum of leaves and water a gentle lullaby, but it didn't fill the empty space inside. He watched the shadows dance, hoping a friend might step from the darkness, but only the wind moved through the trees. Then something different caught his eye. A small sound, soft and careful, like tiny footsteps on the glowing moss. The hatchling lifted his head, ears twitching. He had never heard a sound like this here before. The wind had not made it, and the other creatures were nowhere near. His heart beat faster. Maybe this was someone who wanted to be near him. He waited, hiding behind a low crystal rock, his wings trembling with hope. The sound came closer. Something small and light was moving carefully among the glowing trees. The hatchling's curiosity grew. He peeked out, his round eyes wide. A tiny human boy appeared, looking around with wonder in his eyes. He had soft clothes that glowed faintly, and a small toy in his hands that sparkled with colored lights. The boy stopped when he saw the hatchling. For a moment they just stared at each other. The hatchling tilted his head, unsure. Humans were strange. But the boy knelt slowly, keeping his hands out, showing no harm. "Hello there," he whispered. His voice was soft, kind, and steady. The hatchling felt a flicker of trust. No one had ever spoken to him like that. The boy sat down on the moss a little way away, not moving too fast, letting the hatchling watch. He held the toy up and made it glow in soft patterns. The hatchling blinked. He had never seen anything like it before. Curiosity and excitement grew inside him. Maybe, just maybe, this human boy could be different. Maybe he could finally have someone to play with. The hatchling took a cautious step forward. Then another. The boy smiled gently, not scaring him away. And for the first time since he hatched, the little hatchling felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe he wasn't completely alone in this glowing, silent forest. The little human boy knelt on the glowing moss, watching the hatchling carefully. He did not move too fast because he knew that might scare the tiny creature. His eyes were wide with wonder. He had never seen a dragon hatchling so small and delicate before. Its scales shone softly in the light of the forest, like tiny gems, and its wings fluttered nervously. The boy held his glowing toy out again, letting it float gently above the moss. The hatchling blinked, tilting its head, curious but still unsure. The boy whispered, "It's okay. I won't hurt you. I just want to play." His voice was soft and kind, like the gentle rustle of the glowing leaves. The hatchling's tiny chest rose and fell as it considered him. The boy smiled, then slowly inched closer, keeping his movements calm. He had explored this part of the forest many times before, but he had never found anything like this. He felt a strange excitement and warmth in his chest, seeing the hatchling so lonely. "I think you need a friend," he said quietly. The hatchling twitched its wings, unsure of what to do, but it stayed in place, watching him. The boy sat cross-legged on the moss, holding the toy in front of him. He tapped it lightly, making it glow brighter and spin slowly. The hatchling's eyes widened. It had never seen colors move like that before. Slowly, it crept closer, just a little, keeping one paw on the moss for balance. The boy remained still, letting it come. "That's right," he whispered. "You can come closer. I'm your friend." The hatchling sniffed the glowing toy, its small nose twitching. Then it gave a tiny chirp. The boy's face lit up. See? You can make sounds too. I like your chirp, he said, clapping his hands softly. The hatchling blinked and chirped again, a little louder this time. The boy laughed, a soft, happy sound that echoed gently in the crystal forest. For a moment, the hatchling just stared at him. Then it took another small step forward, closer to the boy. The boy stayed calm, letting it decide the pace. He reached out a hand slowly, palm up, letting the hatchling touch it if it wanted. The hatchling sniffed the boy's fingers, then nuzzled them gently. The boy smiled, feeling a warmth spread in his heart. He had never felt this kind of connection before. The boy took out a small bag from his clothes. He pulled out tiny glowing berries, soft and sweet, and placed them on the moss. Here, he said. You can have some. Friends share, right? The hatchling chirped excitedly and ate one then another. The boy watched, laughing softly. He knew the hatchling was beginning to trust him. Then the boy got an idea. He tapped the toy again, making it spin faster, and called softly, "Catch it if you can." The hatchling's eyes followed the spinning light, and before long, it began to hop and flap its tiny wings, trying to reach it. The boy clapped softly. You're doing it? You're so fast. The hatchling chirped happily and jumped again, almost hitting the spinning light. The boy laughed louder this time, enjoying every second. Hours seemed to pass, though it was only a short while. The boy and the hatchling played together quietly in the glowing forest. The boy taught it little games, and the hatchling began to trust him more with every step. Its wings stretched a little farther each time it jumped, and its chirps became louder and more confident. As the glowing sun of the alien forest began to set, painting the sky in soft purples and golds, the boy leaned back on the moss, smiling at his new friend. The hatchling curled close to him, resting its tiny head on his leg. For the first time since it had hatched, it felt safe. It felt like it had someone who cared, someone who wanted to be its friend. The boy gently stroked its small head and whispered, "Don't worry, little one. I'll be here tomorrow too. We'll play again." The hatchling chirped softly like a promise, and the boy smiled. In that quiet moment, surrounded by glowing trees and gentle streams, a new friendship had begun, a friendship that would change both their lives forever. The next morning, the little human boy returned to the glowing forest. The sunlight danced through the crystal leaves, making tiny rainbows on the soft moss. The boy's heart beat quickly as he looked around for the hatchling. He hoped it remembered him. At first, there was no sign of the tiny dragon. The boy walked slowly, calling softly, "Hello? Are you here?" A small chirp answered from behind a glowing mushroom. The hatchling peeked out, wings trembling, but it stayed hidden. The boy smiled and knelt down. "It's okay. You don't have to come out if you don't want to. I just want to see you." The hatchling hesitated, watching the boy's calm eyes. Something about him felt safe. Slowly, it stepped out from behind the mushroom, its tiny claws barely making a sound on the moss. The boy held his hand out, empty this time, not offering anything except friendship. "I just want to be your friend," he said. The hatchling tilted its head and chirped softly as if answering, "Maybe." The boy sat cross-legged and stayed very still. He didn't move suddenly or make loud sounds. He simply smiled and looked at the hatchling with patience. The hatchling edged closer, circling slowly around him. It sniffed his hand, then pulled back slightly. The boy didn't flinch. He whispered, "That's okay. Take your time. I'll wait." For a while, neither moved. The forest hummed around them, the gentle ripple of crystal streams, the soft rustle of glowing leaves. The hatchling's wings twitched nervously, but its curiosity was stronger than its fear. It slowly stepped forward again and touched the boy's hand with its nose. The boy's smile widened. "See? You're brave. I like brave friends." The hatchling chirped happily. The boy tapped the moss gently with his fingers, making a small pattern of glowing light. The hatchling's eyes widened in fascination. Slowly, it tried to mimic the pattern, moving its tiny claws in the moss. The boy laughed softly. "Good job. You're learning fast." The hatchling chirped again, hopping a little closer. Then the boy had an idea. He picked up a small crystal from the ground, smooth and round, and rolled it gently toward the hatchling. The hatchling jumped back, startled at first. But the boy stayed calm. "It's okay. You can touch it. It's just a game." Slowly, the hatchling reached out with a claw and tapped the crystal. Rolled a little. The hatchling chirped louder this time, hopping and nudging it with excitement. The boy clapped softly. "Yes, that's it. You're playing." They spent the morning like this, rolling crystals, tapping glowing moss, chasing the small floating lights the boy made with his hands. The hatchling grew more confident with every step, stretching its tiny wings farther, chirping more boldly. The boy laughed quietly, enjoying every moment. He had never had a friend like this before, and he wanted to treasure it. Around midday, the hatchling suddenly flapped its wings and jumped into the air. The boy's eyes widened. "Wow. You can fly a little?" he whispered, clapping softly. The hatchling circled around him once, then landed gently on the moss. The boy reached out and stroked its back carefully. "You're amazing," he said. "I knew you could do it." The hatchling chirped and nudged the boy's hand, a clear sign of trust. They sat together on the glowing moss, watching the crystal streams sparkle in the sunlight. The boy spoke softly about the forest, about the floating lakes, about the other creatures he had seen. The hatchling listened, tilting its head, chirping occasionally as if it understood. Then a small gust of wind blew through the trees, carrying glowing petals that floated like tiny stars. The hatchling leapt up and chased them, hopping and flapping its wings. The boy laughed and ran after it, tossing more petals in the air. They were playing together now, really playing, and the forest seemed to glow brighter around them. Time passed quickly, though it felt like only minutes. The boy lay down on the moss, watching the hatchling curl up beside him, wings folded neatly. The hatchling chirped softly, leaning against him. The boy whispered, "I'm glad we found each other. You're not alone anymore." The hatchling chirped in response, like a promise that it would stay near him. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with soft purples and golds, the boy picked up a tiny branch and used it to make glowing patterns in the moss. The hatchling hopped beside him, tapping and nudging the patterns with its claws. They laughed together in their own way, two friends from different worlds finding joy in each other's company. By the time the stars began to appear, the hatchling had learned to trust the boy completely. It curled up beside him, eyes half closed, safe and warm. The boy gently stroked its tiny head. "Tomorrow we'll play again," he whispered. The hatchling chirped softly, leaning closer, ready to follow his new friend anywhere. For the first time, the hatchling did not feel lonely. It had found someone who cared, someone who wanted to be with it, and it knew that this was only the beginning of a long and wonderful friendship. The next morning, the little human boy ran into the glowing forest as soon as the sunlight spilled over the crystal leaves. His small heart beat fast with excitement. He could already hear the tiny chirps of the hatchling somewhere nearby. The forest sparkled with life, and today felt like it held endless possibilities. The hatchling was waiting at the edge of a small crystal stream, eyes bright and wings twitching. As soon as it saw the boy, it chirped and flapped its tiny wings, hopping in small circles. The boy laughed and held out his hand. "Ready for another adventure?" he asked. The hatchling chirped back, spinning in the air as if saying yes. They began their morning by exploring the floating crystal lakes. The water shimmered like liquid light, and tiny glowing fish leapt gracefully from the surface. The hatchling chased the reflections, trying to catch them with its claws, while the boy ran along the mossy banks, laughing and calling out instructions. "Catch the light. Over here," he shouted. The hatchling flapped and darted, learning to follow the boy's movements, its small body moving faster with every leap. After chasing the reflections, the boy found a hidden cave among the glowing rocks. Its entrance was low, but inside, the walls glowed with soft, natural light, making patterns that danced like tiny stars. The hatchling's eyes widened in wonder. It chirped happily, hopping from one rock to another. The boy followed carefully, not wanting to scare his tiny friend. "Look, isn't it amazing?" he whispered. The hatchling chirped louder, spinning in excitement. They played hide-and-seek inside the cave. The boy would hide behind glowing rocks, and the hatchling would hop and peek, chirping as it searched. Sometimes the hatchling hid, and the boy would carefully look for it, calling softly, "Where are you?" Each time they found each other, they laughed. Well, the boy laughed and the hatchling chirped happily. The sound of their joy filled the cave, echoing like music. When they came out of the cave, the forest had grown warmer in the soft sunlight. The boy led the hatchling to a meadow of floating petals, tiny glimmering blossoms carried by gentle gusts of wind. The hatchling leapt into the air, chasing them, twisting and flapping its wings. The boy ran after it, tossing more petals in the air, creating a sparkling path for the little dragon to follow. They twirled and chased, both laughing and chirping, completely lost in their own world. Suddenly, a harmless swirl of glowing spores blew through the meadow. The hatchling leapt and twirled to avoid them, and the boy ran after it, holding his hands up to keep the spores from hitting the small creature. They moved together, instinctively protecting each other, and the hatchling chirped in delight as the boy gently guided it around the swirl. "See? We're a team," the boy said. The hatchling chirped louder, spinning in the air like it understood. After the spores settled, the boy found a patch of soft moss under a tall glowing tree. He sat down and patted the moss. "Rest here for a moment," he said. The hatchling curled up beside him, tiny wings folding around its body. They watched the soft streams of light fall through the trees. "You're fast and brave and amazing," the boy whispered. The hatchling chirped softly, leaning closer, feeling safe beside its friend. The boy then pulled out a small toy, a glowing sphere that floated gently in the air. He tapped it lightly, sending it spinning in small patterns. The hatchling's eyes widened, and it leapt to catch it, chirping excitedly as it batted the sphere with its tiny claws. They spent hours like this, taking turns chasing the toy, the hatchling growing more confident, and the boy cheering every small movement. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in soft oranges and purples, the boy and hatchling lay side by side on the moss. The hatchling rested its tiny head on the boy's lap, wings folded neatly. The boy gently stroked its back. "Today was the best day ever," he whispered. The hatchling chirped softly like it agreed. In that quiet moment the boy realized something. This tiny dragon was not just a creature to play with, it was a friend, a companion, someone who understood him in a way no one else could. And the hatchling, for the first time, felt completely safe and happy. It chirped one last time as the glowing stars began to appear in the alien sky, curling closer to the boy, ready to face another day of adventures together. The forest hummed softly around them, the streams sparkling, the leaves glowing. Two unlikely friends, one human and one tiny dragon, had found joy, trust, and companionship in each other. And as they drifted into a quiet rest under the glowing trees, the boy whispered again, "Tomorrow we'll have even more adventures." The hatchling chirped in agreement, its tiny heart full of happiness. The next morning the little human boy ran back into the glowing forest, as excited as ever. The sun had just risen, spilling soft light through the crystal leaves. Every tree shimmered, every stream sparkled, but the boy only had eyes for his tiny dragon friend. The hatchling was already there, waiting near the edge of a crystal lake. Its wings twitched with excitement, and it chirped a happy greeting. The boy laughed and ran toward it. "Good morning. Ready for another day of adventures?" he asked. The hatchling chirped louder, spinning in the air before landing gently on the moss. It had grown braver since yesterday and now it almost seemed to smile. The boy and the hatchling began their day with a game of chase through the glowing forest. The boy would run ahead, then stop suddenly, letting the hatchling catch up. Each time the tiny dragon flapped its wings and bounded after him, it chirped with joy, its small body moving faster and more confidently with every leap. The boy clapped his hands softly, cheering. "You're getting faster. I knew you could do it." After a while they reached a hilltop overlooking the forest. The crystal streams below sparkled like silver threads, and the trees glowed warmly under the morning sun. The boy lay down on the soft moss and patted a space beside him. The hatchling hopped closer, then curled up, resting its tiny head on the boy's lap. For the first time it didn't seem nervous or lonely. It felt safe. It felt happy. The boy gently stroked its soft scales. "You're amazing, little one. I'm glad I found you," he whispered. The hatchling chirped softly, leaning closer as if saying, "And I'm glad I found you too." They sat in quiet together, the sounds of the glowing forest surrounding them like a gentle lullaby. Suddenly the boy noticed other small creatures watching from a distance. Tiny luminous animals peeked from behind crystal rocks and trees. The hatchling twitched its wings nervously, unsure what to do. The boy smiled. "Don't worry," he whispered. "We'll show them it's okay. Friends can be everywhere." Slowly the hatchling nudged the boy's hand, gaining courage from him. Together they stepped toward the curious onlookers. The little creatures slowly approached, encouraged by the hatchling's newfound confidence. The boy clapped softly. "See? You're teaching them that friends aren't scary." The hatchling chirped loudly, hopping around playfully. The other creatures began to follow, joining in a small game of chase and laughter. The boy and the hatchling had started something wonderful, a tiny world of friendship growing in the glowing forest. As the day passed, the boy and the hatchling explored the streams and meadows, chased floating petals, and discovered hidden caves filled with sparkling stones. The hatchling's wings grew stronger, its chirps louder, and its tiny heart full of joy. The boy laughed at every leap, every chirp, every playful tumble, feeling proud of his friend. They were a team now, united by trust, courage, and joy. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in soft oranges and purples, the boy and hatchling returned to their favorite hilltop. The hatchling curled up beside him, resting its head on the boy's lap. The boy leaned back, watching the glowing sky. "We did a lot today, didn't we?" he whispered. The hatchling chirped softly, nuzzling closer as if to say yes. The boy reached into his bag and pulled out a small glowing berry. He offered it to the hatchling, who eagerly ate it. "Friends share everything," the boy said, smiling. The hatchling chirped again, its little wings twitching happily. The boy gently stroked its back. "No matter what happens, you'll never be alone again." The hatchling chirped once more, curling even closer. The stars began to appear in the sky, twinkling above the glowing forest. The boy pointed upward. "Look. Just like our glowing forest, the stars shine bright for everyone." The hatchling looked up, eyes reflecting the soft light, and chirped softly. It had learned to trust, to play, and to love. And in return, the boy had learned the magic of patience, kindness, and the simple joy of friendship. As night fell, the boy lay back on the moss, the hatchling beside him. They were quiet, comfortable, and happy. Around them, the glowing forest hummed softly, streams sparkling, leaves glowing. Two friends from different worlds had found each other, and together they had made a small world brighter. The boy whispered one last time, "Tomorrow we'll have more adventures. And maybe we'll make even more friends." The hatchling chirped softly in agreement, curling up for the night. For the first time it felt truly at home, safe and loved. It had found a friend who cared, and it would never be lonely again. The forest seemed to glow brighter that night, as if celebrating the friendship that had grown between a little human boy and a tiny dragon hatchling. And high above, the stars shone down, watching over them, a quiet promise that their adventures had only just begun.